Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reds Rundown podcast. This is by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob, he's Joe, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Today is going to be an interesting day, Joe. You are out of town, hopefully having a great time. And tell us, how your weekend went. You visited a lot of ballparks, a lot of fun things going on for you.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good week. Glad the Reds finished up well to kind of make it a high note for us to talk today. While on vacation at the Gulf Shores in Alabama, was able to stop on the way down at the Birmingham Barons game and also see Rick Wood Field, which was where the MLB had the game last year which was honoring the oldest ballpark in America. It's really nice now, but apparently it wasn't that good before. But it was the Giants and Cardinals playing last year. And then went to the Blue Wahoos game yesterday, former Reds affiliate, now a Miami Marlins AA team, and might be one of my favorite stadiums ever. It's on the water. Definitely my favorite minor league stadium I've been to. I've been to about 15 to 20 minor league stadiums on the water. People were hitting home runs into the ocean. It was awesome. So it's been a good week, and the Reds have kind of helped that too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You got to see some history. We love that. Today, Joe, we're going to be going over, injuries. We'll talk a little Brewers and Diamondbacks as well. There was a trade the Reds made. CES is playing hero out there. We got to give TJ Friedl some love. And then we're going to go into some Guardians and Tigers. But we're going to start with the question of the day. Why are people not talking about TJ Friedl more? Why does he not get the recognition that he is clearly deserving when he is healthy? It is a question that I think Joe and I have been asking a little bit, and one that we will explore a little bit more today. But let's hop into the games of this past week, Joe. We started off the week on a bit of a sour note. The Reds would go up 2-0, but drop the game 3-2 as they could not find their way to another run throughout the rest of the game. They still had 8 hits and felt like they really had Aaron Savali and the Brewers on the ropes in that first inning. But it would not be enough. Christian Yelich's home run in the third would be all it would take. Brady Singer would go 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 4 Ks, 3 walks. His walks have been the bigger issue so far this year, something that we need to probably look at. He is top, I think, 25 or 30 in walks this year, which is a little atypical for him, and something we'll have to continue to watch for. The rest of the bullpen, though, would come in and get it done, and the Reds would unfortunately drop the game. The Reds would go on to win, though, 4-2 in the Tuesday game, putting them 2 games under 500. Home runs from Tyler Stevenson and Will Benson would be enough to get the Reds over the top. Hunter Green was awesome again, but would unfortunately pull his groin yet again. 5 hits in 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. He was dominant, to say the least. You would look at that score and think there was nothing wrong, but that groin is a problem, to say the least. And the Reds, by the way, would win the duel between Green and Peralta, even though Peralta would go 6 innings. Then it was the Wednesday game, which was a forgettable one. At one point, it was 3-1, but the Reds would end up losing 9-1. Andrew Abbott would finally have his one bad game of the year so far. 5 earned runs on 7 hits, 2 home runs given up, 6 strikeouts, though. The Reds, Matt McLean would get a little bit. And we would get a little bit of a preview with Wade Miley going 2 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, and a home run given up. I was not able to catch the Wednesday game, Joe. I was a little bit busy, unfortunately, during this game. I still was obviously keeping track of it, but I don't understand why we can't beat the Brewers. It's such a weird thing. It almost feels like a Cardinals mentality for this squad specifically, even though they've played the Cardinals well. I really don't know what else to say other than it just feels like there's a monkey on this team's back and they are just unable or unwilling to try to get over that hump and take down a Brewers team that I just don't think is as good as we are in a lot of different ways. But we still always will pull off a game against them, but we just can never seemingly win a series.
Yeah, I think this is for me, it's one of these things where we really need to have better focus on divisional games. We obviously talked about how we struggle with the Pirates, and then now the Pirates is obviously a little bit less understandable than struggling against the Brewers, who are a solid team. But I don't know if we need to ignite some rivalries, do whatever to get us to focus in these divisional games. But we're dropping too many, and this is not a very good division, to be honest. So when you put that all together, it's like, hey, if you just take care of business in the division, and maybe that's winning a series here and there against the Brewers, maybe that's winning most of the series against the Pirates, this team has a much better outlook. For this series specifically, I think it was one of the more frustrating series of the year because it highlighted a lot of what we've already talked about with this team, with like the lack of offense for the most part. And that Monday game I think was specifically frustrating for me because we scored 2 runs, go up early, get the score first, which, we've talked about being the keys to the series, and then getting into the bullpen, and we couldn't get anything going after that. And our pitching just couldn't hold on, and you just had 3 games where we scored 2 runs, 4 runs, and 1 run, and that's not going to be good enough. So the inconsistencies with the offense still showed up there, and we talked about their starting pitching is good for the Brewers, but their bullpen's not the greatest. We should have been able to take more advantage of that and win this series, and that's what we both predicted a 5-1 week, and we were very close to being right if the Monday game goes just a little bit different if we hold on a little bit and score maybe 1 or 2 more runs. But that was specifically frustrating. And then I went to the Wednesday game, the day game, and I think it's our first loss as a podcast this year, and Abbott's first loss of the year as well. And it was obviously gross, but we mentioned on the podcast last week that it was going to happen at some point because you just can't be perfect. And unfortunately, it was in this game, but I think it's overall still a good week once we get to the other series. So it's one of these where it's like after this series against the Brewers, where it's like, hey, this is the week of the year of this month specifically where we really need to take advantage. I was thinking, okay, maybe they win 2 out of 3 against Arizona. Maybe it's okay, and it's like they still hang around, but they exceeded expectations in the next series too.
Yeah, we'll hop right into that, Joe. I feel like that's a perfect segue. I appreciate it. The Friday game was a shaky start. The Reds would go down 3-0, and for the most part this year, Joe, that was a death sentence for this team. But they would fight back. They would score 2 in the 3rd inning. TJ Friedel with a home run. And then later in the game in the 6th, Christian Encarnacion Strand would have a home run to tie it up in the pouring rain. That was some big time power from the kid coming back from injury. The game would get called there, and they would have to pick it up on Saturday, literally right before the Saturday game. I thought there was going to be a little bit of an in-between. They normally do that, so I missed the first inning for the Reds on Saturday's game, which we'll go over here in a second. A little bit of a bummer on that one, but then at 10 o'clock in the 10th inning, Christian Encarnacion Strand would come up again and win it for the Reds. Lodolo was masterful. Yeah, he gave up 3 earned runs, but he still, was able to kind of weave his way through a pretty good Diamondbacks lineup. 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned, 4 Ks, and 2 home runs given up. But his ERA would be lower. That is a quality start, so good for him. Graham Ashcraft would come in and be excellent as well. 2 innings, 4 strikeouts. Pagan and then Santillan would come in and help to lock it down for the win in a big game for the Reds. Their first extra innings win for the Reds in their first walk-off of the season as well. And they would carry that right on over into Saturday's game, Joe. It was an absolute slaughter. Mr. Nelson here did not have a great day. 3 innings pitched, 7 earned runs, home runs from Christian Encarnacion Strand, a grand slam by Gavin Lux. And the Reds really had kind of more of a hit train going on and getting hit and walking, all the above. Terry Francona was on the radio on Sunday and said that it was really Matt McLean's bunt hit that kind of got them rolling as well. I don't know if he's just saying that to kind of give him some confidence, but that would play into it here. We'll talk about that in a second. Nick Martinez was also just, again, once he finds his groove, Joe, it feels like you get through the first couple starts with him. He's lowered his ERA all the way down to a 3.7 now. 6 innings, scattered 6 hits, 1 earned run on the solo home run that he gave up to our good friend Gino Suarez. Congrats on his 100th home run in Great American Ballpark. I only say congrats because we won. 6 strikeouts. Joe LaSorsa would get his first action as a Red. He would walk 2, but give up no runs. And Lyon Richardson, sneaky good. 1.06 ERA, Joe. He continues to come in, and not exactly high leverage situations, but he continues to get it done. Sunday's game was also an interesting one. The Reds would go down again, 2-0. Maybe they are finding their way to claw their way back into games, Joe. Christian Encarnacion Strand would hit his 5th home run of the year, his 3rd of the series, I believe. And Jose Trevino as well. And then the big bomb from Matt McLean to left field to give the Reds the final score of a 4-2. Brady Singer yet again was very solid. 5 innings, scattered 5 hits. He gave up the 1 home run, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks again, though, and 2 earned runs. Scott Barlow, Taylor Rogers, and Tony Santillan would lock it down for the sweep, Joe. It's a sweep is a sweep. The Reds are back up to 500, and they took down, yes, an ailing Diamondbacks team, one that is, lacking for starting pitching, to say the least. But they were still able to get the job done against what I think is a very solid Diamondbacks lineup. When you give up 2 runs, 1 run, and 3 runs, only 6 runs in a series, you can feel pretty good about that. And the Reds did not, take their foot off the pedal after the 13-run game. They still put up 4. That's been their magic number, I think, for most of the season, Joe. You can even see it here. 2 wins with a 4 count. So very happy with the way that the Reds played, to say the least. They went 4-2 on the week, and they are right back in contention once again.
Go back through our whole season and see what a record would be if we had 4 runs a game. Would be incredible, because that does seem to be the magic number. Now, Rob, CES comes back. That's huge. I have a point to make about that later when we talk about when we come. What was that?
I was saying, really comes back.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he really did come back. We're going to talk about him more later, but that really provided a jolt for this offense. But I think this is what we're kind of expecting with this team. Yes, the Diamondbacks don't have great pitching. They don't have a terrible bullpen. But this is we have a little bit of power to the lineup. We're scoring runs. It's not like every game is going to be 13-1 like we saw on Saturday. But this is more of what we kind of saw. And I think as these next 3 months go on, June, July, August, we should be expecting a lot more power in the lineup, not just because CES is back, Austin Hayes is coming back soon probably, but also it just gets hotter in Cincinnati, and then the ball flies out like crazy. So we saw, I think last week when the Brewers were in town, on the Wednesday game, it was a little bit hotter. It was starting to get hotter, but even Jose Trevino hit a couple to the track. It's starting to fly out a little bit more, and that's something to watch for this team. We've been dying for power numbers. The healthier we get and the deeper we get into this summer, it's going to be even better for us. And if that's kind of the model here, is we limit the number of home runs the other team hits in our ballpark, and we hit more than them, that's something that could be sustainable, not because other teams don't have more power than us, but because our pitching is so good. So just something to watch out here. The Diamondbacks are a solid team, solid lineup. It's a good sweep. It's not like we're sweeping, the Pirates, the White Sox, the Rockies, something like that. It's a solid team with a solid lineup. They're definitely falling off in the last couple weeks, but definitely something you want to, like we said, we want to take advantage of this week. We did with the 4-2 record. It was pretty solid. Now we got, a week that's going to be tough for us on the road for 6 games, but the week after that, maybe it's another opportunity in this wild month to pick up some ground on the, playing the Twins and the Cardinals. So I think this is probably, like I said, last week, this is the most important week of the season if you still wanted any hope of making the playoffs. And while it looked bleak at the start, this series against the Diamondbacks and getting it done, I think, can leave you with a lot of hope. We are now up to 500. The schedule does continue to stay pretty tough for the next month, but if we can kind of stay within 2 to 3 games of 500, one way or the other, I think we're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, especially if they can just get through June like that. I think that's going to force the hand of the front office to maybe go and finally make that move we keep talking about. And I mean this in no mean way, but I did not even realize that Jake Fraley played in every single game this week. So that kind of shows you where I think they are at right now. Injury update, Joe. Hunter Green had an MRI on June 4th was the last update that we got. Have not heard anything personally. A lot of the games I was watching was on silent. I had a lot going on this week, unfortunately, so I was mostly watching the games while having to do some other stuff. So I don't know if you heard anything or not, but that was the last update I heard on him. Seems like he's on track to be back once this stint is over, but I think they're just trying to make sure there's nothing there that's going to be, I think, a problem throughout the season. Austin Hayes was in a boot. He is now out of a boot. They said he was running in a pool. So that's good. I think they fully expect him to be back in time as well. He seems to think he's going to be back. Noel V. Marte has started hitting soft toss, so big. It may not seem like it, but that's a big update with an oblique injury. He is starting to hit. That's where you are moving your core, right? So that's where those injuries are. If you don't know, the obliques are in this core area. And then Jeimer Candelario, a name that I didn't know if we would hear again, but apparently he is hitting better. I don't know if I'd say well. I went and checked. Reddit seemed to think he was hitting well and that he might cause a conundrum once he comes up for playing time, and I don't know if that's going to be the case. I'm still not convinced that Jeimer Candelario is going to be on this team unless if he's hitting 600 down in AAA here in the next few weeks, but we will have to see how that one goes. You got any thoughts on injuries before we move on to the little trade that the Reds made?
Yeah, they said that they're going to be really cautious with Hunter Green. I agree with it. You can't sacrifice the future of what he could bring to this team for short-term success, and that's that's going to be something we have to watch, whether he can come back on time and be the same Hunter Green. Especially we talked about possible All-Star, but with some injuries this year, maybe it doesn't happen just because of that, which would suck. But I'm excited to see how he comes back after this injury and how he can help this team that is playing very hot baseball right now. And Candy's hitting better. It seems like everyone who actually goes down and gets injured and comes back up, or goes through AAA, goes through rehab, ends up being solid. So hopefully he can come back and help this team. Because I don't see them cutting him or buying him out or anything like that. I mean, I don't know. That's just I would say a DFA would have been warranted earlier this season, but it just doesn't seem like it's on the card. So hopefully he can come back and help this team. I don't know how they're going to figure out the math with the roster, but that's for future us to decide if there's no other injuries, which it seems like we always have injuries. So it's probably going to be something that's figured out by itself.
Yeah, we'll get that figured out. Maybe. I still think they might designate him for assignment. I forgot how poorly he was hitting. 113 is just unacceptable. But we'll move on. Austin Wynns signed a new contract that made it seem like he was staying with the Reds, Joe. I was almost certain that they were going to try to keep him in AAA and all was going to be good. They even gave him, I think, like a guaranteed minor league contract, which you don't really see very often. And then the very next day, he was traded to Oakland for our best friend cash considerations. I am hopeful that means that the Reds are going to be using that money to go out and get somebody here soon. Any goodbye thoughts to our friend Austin Wynns, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why we did this. I don't understand how we used the three catchers we had since Stevenson came back too. I don't like our insurance policy at catcher right now. Throughout our system. I would have thought that we could use three catchers, using the DH spot more to get players at bats and to give players rest. Especially when we get down the stretch, I think having three catchers could have been useful with the situation we're in, where it's like we have a lot of guys who weren't hitting. And I didn't like the usage of him, so I get like wanting to get something back for him. But all these trades, we get cash considerations back. Like, it's going to be fine if we actually use the money, but how many times do we do this and it's just like, oh, we just pocket the money and do nothing? So not only did we do the Wins trade, which, again, a solid player who was hitting the ball well for us and should have seen more playing time, but we also did the Alexis Diaz to save money, Alexis Diaz trade to save money. And, you have to wonder, is it going to be worth it? And all that comes down to is whether they try. I don't even care if they go spend money and they strike out on it, but if they go try to get someone at the deadline, try to get a rental to help this team, if we're still in it, of course, that's where it's going to be important for us. I get that they are cash-strapped franchise, but I just didn't like giving up a guy that was very cost-controlled and had just signed the contract and was actually hitting the ball well for a team that we think wants to compete, but let's see what they do.
Yeah, I just can't imagine that they're getting that much money, like $500K maybe for him, plus his contract's gone, so maybe that's like a $1,400 or a $1.4 million swing at most. Between that and the Alexis Diaz, you're saving like $5 million right now. That can help you go get some people. There's no doubt about it, but you got to make it happen. I'm hopeful that this is them starting to do their due diligence to go get something. Because look, Trevino's been awesome. Stevenson is starting to hit the ball again. You don't need a third catcher. Like you said, I like having an option. I really thought that they were making a good decision to keep him down in AAA, but if they don't do anything, then we're going to look back on this one and be like, what the hell? Like, what was the point? Because if one of the two of them gets hurt, then I don't even know who the AAA catcher is right now, Joe. I don't know if you've taken a look. I guess I can look really quickly here. Pulling it up for AAA Louisville here. It's gosh, what is this kid's name? He hit okay during is it Will Banfield? That's who it is. So they go to Will Banfield, who is an okay defensive catcher, and he hit well during spring training. But Joe, he is batting .202 with 0 home runs down in AAA. So, and they're not calling up Alfredo Duno. I can promise you that. Respect on the big Duno here. I heard some people calling him the next Salvador Perez, which was pretty awesome to hear. I don't know if I agree with that yet, but he could be somebody interesting to watch soon. But
hopefully he's not even Double A yet. So like you're right, they're not bringing him up. So it makes it like it's going to be a free agent at that rate. Maybe Banfield for a while, but that's not great.
You can't play Banfield every day. You can play him for like once every so often at most. But yeah, we'll move on here, Joe. We need to have a discussion about. I have a few things within this topic. Okay, so I'm going to preface all this, and then we can dive into it. CES is the latest one to play hero. We've seen it with, players like Will Benson, Noel V. Marte. They've all started out, in AAA or had to go down to AAA for some stuff. They've been able to come back. CES is playing a lot better, obviously. They've even been playing him at third base, which is pretty wild. He has already hit 5 home runs in 18 games, which is pretty incredible. He has raised his batting average to 229. I believe he was in like the 140s, 130s. So he has almost raised his batting average 100 points in a couple of games. He has provided some power, some clutch hitting as well. He is never going to really walk. His plate approach didn't look much different, but he was crushing mistakes, which I think is good. This all kind of ties into who is going to establish themselves, Joe, because we have Marte and Austin Hayes coming back. Will Benson has fallen off again. Matt McLain is hitting close to 240. It's a lot of guys that we still have question marks about, including CES, right? Like, I don't want to take away from the big weekend that he had, right? But people are going to start throwing him more breaking balls away and more fastballs up and away, and he's going to start swinging at them. That is absolutely going to happen. We even saw it a little bit this weekend. It's just that we just didn't face very good pitching. I am not convinced yet that CES is back. I'm not convinced. Benson's been a little bit better in terms of, his batting average has dropped, but I think he's had some pretty good at-bats. The big problem is him and Matt McLain and, and CES. Nobody can hit a fastball over 95 miles an hour that's in the upper third or above the zone. And, obviously above the zone makes sense, but just lay off those. I'm really struggling to understand why we are struggling against those types of pitches so often. But where are you at with what we're going to do with this squad? Give CES his flowers and then kind of talk me through a little bit about what you're going to do, because I think Noel V. Marte deserves the everyday third base job when he comes back. He has been by far the best of these guys when he's been healthy, at least so far this season. And obviously Austin Hayes is going to take an outfield spot. So what's going to happen here? Who's going to establish themselves?
Yeah, I'm curious too. Where they put him at third base, and I didn't think that was going to be a role for him, to be honest. I guess it can be the short-term thing. Maybe they honestly probably want Spencer Steer to kind of focus on not going back to third and focus on his hitting, which is fine, especially with the possible lingering effects of it, even though he's played some outfield now too. But yeah, he's done great. I think we've seen this with other guys. They go down, they have the rehab, they kind of work through their injury, work through their swing, and they come back. And every time we have a guy who goes his back up against the wall, it seems like, well, Will Benson, CES, where it's like, we don't know if you're going to be on the team much longer, otherwise being sent down to AAA again. They come through. They go down to AAA, they kill the ball, then they come back up. So he deserves a lot of credit. He can be a very important player for this lineup. I think we've always known that, but especially with the power he brings, as you said, 5 home runs already is pretty good. It's not too far behind second on the team. Matt McClain, 7 home runs, who's obviously played most of the full year. And a lot of credit to him, too. He was tied for the worst WAR on the team at negative 0.9 with Candy. And he, for a long time, Candy, he was worse than Candy in a shorter period of time, which is just incredible to have to do. He was playing that bad. And he got it all the way to minus 0.1. So he's figured it out. And I think the main point here I want to make is competition is good. Outside of TJ Friedel, Ellie De La Cruz, and Gavin Lux against righties, and then Austin Hayes when he's actually healthy, everyone else should be battling for playing time because no one else's average warrants that, right? Maybe Tyler Stevenson at catcher, but Jose Trevino's probably taken a lot more playing time even since Stevenson's been back than maybe we would have thought before the season. So I think everyone's job is up for grabs, and putting everyone's back against the wall is a good way to hold everyone accountable, to say, hey, if you perform, we're going to take care of you, but if you don't, we have to do what's best for the team, and everyone focuses more on what they can do for the team rather than themselves at that point. So I think that's something to note here is we've had these guys, like I said, CES, Will Benson go down. Now, Will Benson is falling off, but now maybe it's time to say, hey, man, you're not going to play as much, and then you have to earn your way back, and maybe he goes on a little tear or something. So that's nice. As you have listed here, McClain's playing better recently. Still has about 40 points on the batting average to get the respectable range, but had that home run the other day and is playing a little bit better. So excited to see that. And yeah, that's the thing. It's like even when Marte comes back, let's see if we can kind of have some competition here, see who wants to earn those spots, whether it's, in the starting lineup, whether it's higher in the batting order, whatever it is. A lot of things are up for grabs with this team, and I don't think it's a bad thing because we don't really have established stars other than the 2 or 3 I listed and possessed position players. So let's have that happen because I don't think we owe anything to anyone. A CES next week, if he goes 0 for the week, yeah, guess what? Marte takes their base spot back. If Steer starts falling off, that's something we have to talk about. McClain, it's good that he's rising up back close to 200, but if he dips back down to 170, that's something else we have to talk about too. So this needs to be very competition focused for those other spots, knowing, hey, Ellie's playing every day when he's here, and Friedel's playing every day as long as he's keeping this up, which is incredible, especially with that home run robbery. So it's great, yeah. And then to your other point, Rob, I driving around this week, I've been watching most of the games on the phone, but I also check out the ESPN StatCast, the GameCast, and it is crazy. We have so many guys. I would say Will Benson is hitting pitches that are in the middle of the zone, but we have so many guys who can't hit up and in, up and over. I think Will Benson's 0, his batting 0 in pitches that are in the top left, right, and bottom inside part of the zone. So it's crazy that we can't kind of protect the corners of the plate, but specifically, as you said, the upper portion of the plate, which he brought his arms down. We talked about the swing that he had. He brought his arms down to be able to get around on the high fastball better, and it seemed like it was working initially, but maybe not. So that's something they definitely need to work about. Hey, you can't let people just attack the top of the zone and have a free win. There were several batters who were like that, too. If you look at the next time the Reds play, if you're listening to this, go watch the ESPN GameCast of it, and you'll see the hot and cold zones, and it's not great. So that is something to address as a team. But overall, let's see more competition. Like I said, if CES has a bad week, let's bench him. Let's if McClain has a bad week, let's see if someone else can get the job done. I think it's going to create a better environment for us long term if we do that.
Yeah, and what's interesting is if you combine their at bats, right? Specifically CES and Will Benson. I mean, they're 11 home runs at 140 at bats, right? That is pretty insane. That puts them on pace for I think a 40-ish home run season, 35, 40 home run season, again, combined. So, it's been worth, I think, looking at, and I feel with Hayes back, hopefully soon, I believe it should be next week, maybe even this week, Joe, I would say. I believe it was 10-day DL, so, and I think that was on May 29th. So they have survived without him. Theoretically, he should be back this week. We'll see if they actually do that or not. But, it's you gotta find somebody, like you said, competition is great, but at some point, somebody has to step up. You have too many question marks when you have McLean, Benson, CES, Steer, Marte. I mean, even Candy if you want to put him in there right now. But I'm talking mostly about the young guys, right? That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 guys who you have hoped and depended on to be, a solid everyday player who are not doing it so far. I'm not going to put CES in that category similar to Matt McLean right now. He's hitting well, and he's done so in 18 games. If we had in our first 18 games a guy hitting 230 with 5 home runs, Joe, I think you and I would have been like, all right, let's sign this guy. I mean, everybody else was batting like 170, 180 at the time. So, maybe he's going to come around and continue to hit well this week. I also just don't love that they're streaky. There are only a couple players on this team who are not, but, it's been, even if you want to call it this, I mean, even Ellie, to a certain degree, has been disappointing of the young guys. And I know they all have to take their lumps, and, baseball's hard. But somebody at some point is going to have to really, really, really establish themselves outside of Ellie. We know Ellie's an everyday player, but can he take that next step? For these guys, I think all of them are solid bench pieces right now at a minimum. Can they become everyday starters or not? That's going to be the real question here. And I'm excited to kind of see what these next 3 weeks really are going to be, because it's going to be a battle. People are starting to get healthy again. I know there will be others who will get hurt, but yeah, you gotta be ready, man. It's gonna be interesting. Let's head into TJ Friedel. Now, his WAR has changed overnight. It went from a 1.8 to a 1.9, or 1.9 to 1.8, but Ellie's dropped to a 1.7, so he's no longer tied. But TJ Friedel is leading all of our hitters in WAR. I went and I checked his 162 game, if averaged out season, and listen to these numbers, Joe. 2.8 WAR. 21 doubles, 20 home runs, 7 triples, 75 RBIs, 23 stolen bases, a 263 batting average, a 775 OPS, and he's a solid but not great defender, right? According to all statistical measures. This guy is really good. He finished top 25 2 years ago in an MVP slot. I went and checked. The Reds have him through his prime, thanks to arbitration. He will not be out of here until he is 33, 34 years old. So he will be nearing the end of his prime at that point. Why are we not talking about him more? What is the issue here, Joe, where even I think us, we have talked about him a lot, but why is he not getting more, even national attention? I mean, he's truly one of the better hitters and better players, especially in center field right now, which is, generally a very good position, right, in all of baseball. It is very impressive to see, and I think the question that you had at the beginning of the season with him is, could he repeat that type of performance? And we are seeing that, right? I don't want to, I probably should have said this as well. He's got 69 nice hits in with 11 doubles, 2 triples, 5 home runs, 9 stolen bases, 23 RBIs. He's batting .292. What's so impressive about him is on a team that strikes out a ton, he's got 43 strikeouts, but he's got 32 walks as well. His OPS is 800 right now, Joe, which, outside of Austin Hayes, and a couple other guys who just don't have anywhere near as many as at-bats, is one of the best. And he's been, I think, a lot better defensively than we thought this year. He can put down a bunt. He can run. He's generally a good base runner overall. This dude is, we were talking about it, we needed another guy. He might be the best player currently on the Reds team that's not somebody who's hurt and not somebody who has incredible expectations but is only 23 years old in Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, I think he probably is the best position player on the team right now. And yeah, Ellie definitely has the most potential and the most flashy plays, but you have to appreciate what Friedel has done, just getting the bat on the ball and setting up other people to be able to knock him in and score some runs. He's a guy that I think has been limited by what's happened behind him, specifically in the 2 spot. We talked about my guy Santiago Espinal batting in the 2 spot. That's not what he's designed to do. We talked about Matt McLean, how long he stayed in the 2 spot after he wasn't hitting. I really do wish they could fix the order a little better, and I really do think it would be better Friedel than Ellie and then Hayes when he gets back if he's healthy, and that would help everyone at the top of the order. But he's been so consistent. He robbed that home run the other night to win the game.
That too.
He's I think part of it is, um, we are over a third into the season now. He's like, I think he's solidifying himself as like more of an everyday player after the injuries last year, and before that he obviously had the good season 2023. And it takes a while for baseball as a whole to catch on. I think Reds fans are happy. I do know I saw some people say on like Reds Twitter, like, "Hey, we should trade him," not knowing that he was under control for a while at the deadline
Yeah,
if we're not in it. Like, and I was like, "Yeah, we're not doing that." But um,
better
yeah,
not.
he's a good player, and I do think that it takes a while for baseball to warm up to new stars unless they're signed by the Dodgers or Yankees. So yeah, everyone wants to talk about Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, and that's fair. But there are some very good players in baseball, and I think one of the issues with baseball as a whole is not marketing some of these guys. Like TJ Friedel, I'm sure hasn't even showed up on MLB's social networks in all the
Outside this
season
home
until he
run.
robbed that home.
Yep.
Yeah, he robbed the home run. So there can be like this area where he can be appreciated, I think, in the future. But for Reds fans, we know he's good and we know he's going to be here for a while, and that's comforting because he is one of the guys that we brought up in the last several years that has been solid, consistent, probably the best player. Even last year dealt with injuries and wasn't as bad as maybe you would have think it would be. So yeah, I think it's good, and I'm excited to see what he does, and excited to see if maybe gets an All-Star nod.
And I think he should. So, I'm looking at right now, give me just a minute here. I'm pulling this up. But, I'm looking at, like, statistically, the war leaders, um, in baseball. And, like, I mean, he's a guy who I think, let me see here. Okay. So he's, like, right outside of the top 50-ish right now in baseball. But I do think that, like, a part of that I think is a little bit of his defense, to be fair. But, he's okay. So yeah, offensively, he is 33rd, tied for 33rd in baseball. And when you look at the different, let me bring this up again. Yeah, when you look at, even OPS right now amongst center fielders, it's Pete Crow Armstrong at 872, Trent Grisham, who's having just an like unconsciously good season for the first time really in his career at 825. Andy Pajes is really kind of establishing himself for the first time, 821. O'Neal Cruz has had a pretty good season at 809. But then it's CJ Friedel right there at 5, right? And like you said, all those other guys other than O'Neal Cruz are in big markets, and you have people like Jung Ho Lee, who's getting a lot of love, Julio Rodriguez, Jackson Churio, even Victor Scott to a certain degree, Michael Harris. We talked about Luis Robert, right? Like, he's playing better than every single one of those guys right now, and it's really impressive to see. I mean, even in batting average, Jake Myers of the Astros is the only center fielder who has a higher batting average than TJ Friedel right now. Even like walks, he is second in walks to O'Neal Cruz, and he's not even anywhere near the top 10 in terms of strikeouts, and it's just like he's doing all of these things and he's playing well defensively. He's stealing home runs. I don't know if I would put like star, like fully star in him, but I think all star makes sense. Like you said, he's a guy who I think should get some considerations. He's having another excellent season, and I think it just was time that we needed to point that out. So, if you got any other thoughts, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on here and we'll talk some Guardians Tigers.
Yeah, I wonder, like, partially big mark, but also guys with expectations, right? Like Luis Robert has not been what we expected, and he gets more publicity than TJ Friedel, and that's crazy. So, and obviously he's in a bigger market but it's also the White Sox, who not a lot of people care about too. So it's just one of those interesting things. Like TJ Friedel, more than anyone on this team, is outperforming expectations of where he was drafted and what he was supposed to be, and I don't know if there's a way I can do a study on it, but I would love to have more data on that because it seems like unless the underdog story is told and everyone knows it, like, and people haven't really told the Friedel underdog story, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where he wasn't like this prospect that had all the tools like everyone else, and it's a shame that he doesn't get more publicity for kind of playing the game the right way, having a little bit of speed, a little bit of pop in his bat, but mostly just average, and it's fun to see.
Yeah, he's been, I think, outstanding, and it's been really fun to watch him kind of go and just do his thing. We're going to head now into the Cleveland Guardians. Joe, A team that I think, surprised everybody with the sweep of earlier this season at home. We will be at their place this time around. We only need to win one to win the Ohio Cup. Woo! Yeah, great. But we're going to have Wade Miley going up against Luis Ortiz, Andrew Abbott versus Slade Ciccone, I believe. Is that right? Is it Ciccone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I thought so. I couldn't remember from last year. Then you have Nick Lodolo versus Logan Allen. It's interesting, Joe. It is a team they're obviously good, but every time I look at them and every time I look at the standings and every time I look at their stats, I don't know why they are where they are right now. We are facing, let me pull it up real quickly here. The the ERAs of the guys that we are facing are Luis Ortiz with a 4.02, Logan Allen 4.42, Ciccone 4.87. They are guys who give up a decent amount of home runs, even in a ballpark that doesn't give up a lot of home runs. Luis Ortiz is really the only high strikeout guy, but he does walk a lot of people. I mean, Logan Allen has a 280 batting average against. Ciccone, a 272 batting average against. They've had guys who have gone down to injury, but they just continue to kind of do their thing. And it's been, I would say, interesting, to say the least. And I would love to know, where are you at with this team, Joe? They are going to be facing two lefties, as in terms of the Reds. And they are, let me see here, they are ninth. They are barely better than the Reds against lefties. They have a 221 batting average against lefties. They only have 10 home runs this year. Their OPS is a 605, which is, I believe, let me make sure that this is right before I say it. Yeah, it is fifth worst in baseball. Only the Pirates, Rangers, Rockies, and Orioles have a worse, OPS against lefties. So we are throwing three lefties at them in a row, even with Wade Miley not being great. Even though we are at their place, this is an interesting series. Where are you at with it?
Yeah, I'm with you on the Guardians. Their position players are good. I think they have some interesting pieces in their bullpen, but their starting pitching, it really doesn't add up to what they are. I'll be watching one of my favorite players to watch in the league this time around too with them, Stephen Kwan. Just such a good contact hitter. But this is a series. I think it's going to hinge on that first game, right? Like, I could see us going more all in to win game one and using Wade Miley as an opener. But I think even though we have an off day Thursday, the best thing for this team is if he can just eat innings, because, I just don't see it going well. Put it that way. I saw him live on Wednesday against the Brewers. He was throwing meatballs up there. I don't think he has it. He never had that much speed anyway, but it was like they were turning on it and it was very easy. I hope he does better, but I think it really does hinge on, can he eat 6 to 7 innings and keep our bullpen fresh for the rest of the week when we have Abbott and Lodolo against the Guardians. I'm gonna say 2-1. I think they can win those other two games. I do think I'm just gonna go ahead and pencil in a loss for the Miley game. It was bad in the minor leagues, and it was bad when he pitched against the Brewers too. I understand that we're hot right now, and the Guardians also don't have the best starting pitchers going, but I can't in good faith pick Wade Miley to win. I hope he does, but I can't in good faith pick that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be... It's weird because it feels like he's going to just go out there and just twirl one, right?
Right.
Was his no-hitter against the Guardians with us?
I thought it was against the Brewers, wasn't it? Or I was thinking he was on the Brewers. I don't know.
Wade Miley, no, because I know he was on the Reds. Yeah, it was against the Guardians in Cleveland, which is funny. Reds won 3-0, so that was, if nothing else, this reminds me of like the farewell tour almost for Bronson Arroyo. If you remember, he came back, same surgery, same kind of guy, but from the right side, trying to kind of make the team here. I don't think Wade's going to be as bad as everybody else thinks. I think that they all believe that, like, I've seen Reds Twitter, I've seen Reds Reddit, everybody thinks that he's going to just give up 10 runs or something like that. I think he's probably going to give up 4. Maybe 5. They'll take him out before it gets too bad. I don't think he's going to eat innings, Joe. I'll be honest. I think if he can get through 4 innings and only give up 3 or 4 runs, I will be ecstatic. If he can even get out of the first without giving up a run, I'll be like, all right, good for you, Wade. I mean, he's crafty, right? He's smart. He's been around the league for a long time. He has been a good pitcher at different points in his career. I just speed was never his game. If he's gonna survive, right? If he's gonna survive on an 88 to 90 mile an hour fastball, which is what I'm hearing he's throwing right now, then he's going to have to figure it out and be crafty, right? And he can't leave meatballs at all. I mean, he has got to hit the corners. He's going to have to be precise. I don't think he's going to be that either. I'm still going to pick 2-1, though, as well, Joe. It just feels like the Reds are starting to hit a little bit better right now. This Guardians team, we already swept them. I know that's not really necessarily like, the end-all, be-all, right? Like, you can just catch a team at the wrong time. But I do think we've got a good shot here, especially if Hayes comes back in the next couple days. He is technically due to come back soon. I have not heard anything. I don't know if it's going to be during the series or not. I think it's more likely for the weekend series. But if for some reason Austin Hayes comes back this week, and especially during the series, I think they have a good shot. I do think with Abbott will figure it out. He already pitched against the Guardians once this season. I think he's got a good shot here, and Lodolo as well. I'm taking them over Ciccone or Allen. So, yeah, I'm going to go 2-1, and we're going to hope that it works out that way. You're making a face. Is there something you're seeing? Or
Yeah, if he only pitches 3 or 4 innings, I'm going to say 1 or 2 this series. It's 2-1 if you can go anything past 4 innings just to eat some innings, but I don't know. This is like one of the ones where whether he's pitching well or not doesn't matter to me. I just care about how many innings he actually pitches because I'm already chalking this up as a loss. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at it, but with how taxed at different times our bullpen has been, I think this is just so important. I know we get the off day Thursday, but I think specifically for this series, it's important to not have to pitch. Tony Santion's been overworked the last couple of weeks and stuff like that. I don't want to do that. So I get what you're saying. They'll probably take him out if it gets close. He gives up 3 runs in the first 4 innings. They'll probably take him out and let someone else come in and try to keep us in the game. But I do think it kind of leaves you vulnerable for the next 2 games of the series if you do that. So I think that's the plan, though. I think he's going to be more of an opener in this one, unfortunately. So
well, I think what they do is I think they end up using Lyon. I think they end up using Joe LaSorsa, right? I think those guys take a ton of innings off of the bigger guys here, especially if we're chalking this one up as a potential loss. And then I think Abbott and Lodolo have consistently gone 6 innings. I think that you can survive this series, even if he only goes 3 or 4. We'll see, though. Maybe I'm wrong, right? We'll have to see. It's been tough predicting this team because they could also just come out and absolutely beat the Sox off the Guardians and somehow sweep a 6-0 series against them, which would be incredible. Or they'll go 0-3 and we'll be sitting here miserable as we head into arguably the best team in baseball in the Tigers. I should have put that respect on their name, Joe, at the beginning. I apologize for those of you out there who listened to me. I was wrong. I forgot about just how good this team really, truly is. They're playing. It's so interesting because they're playing at such an interesting level. They're 43-24, which is absolutely outstanding. They've got a plus 92 run differential, which is, I believe, 3rd best in baseball. And they're doing it with a bunch of guys who you've never heard of. And that's what's been really fun and interesting to watch about this team. You have Spencer Torkelson, who has seemingly refound himself. Even though he's only batting .237, he's got 15 home runs. He's been a big bopper for them. Kerry Carpenter, I think, is overall their best hitter. Personally, I think he's been really, really solid. Riley Green's leading the league in strikeouts, but he has plenty of power. Javi Baez, another player who has really refound himself. He is not walking still at all, but he has also cut his strikeouts almost in half compared to what he normally used to do. Gleyber Torres as well came over from the Yankees. He has been a really nice addition from them. Zach McKinstry, Joe, is batting .271. It's just you go down and down the list. They're just solid guys all around. You got Tarek Skubal, who's, the former Cy Young Award winner, who's having another great season. Jack Flaherty is doing well. Casey Mize, the top pick from a few years ago, has really started to establish himself as well. Oh my gosh, Will Vest has been a surprisingly solid closer along with Tommy Canley. who has really found himself as well, former Yankee. This team up and down the roster has hit on the right guys, has helped guys refine themselves. AJ Hinch is reminding everybody that he is, despite his cheating with the Astros, is still a good manager as well of people. I listened to an interview the other day where he talked about, it's to beat teams like the Dodgers, you're not going to beat them one-on-one, but you're going to beat them with using your entire roster and using it at the right times. The Reds are going to be sending out Nick Martinez versus Kiter Montero. Brady Singer will face Jack Flaherty, and the Wade Miley spot, which I think will ultimately go to somebody else, against Sawyer Gibson Long. Yes, all guys I know that you have heard of other than Jack Flaherty. Joe, walk me through what you were seeing in this pretty interesting series.
Yeah, they're really built on their starting pitching, and those players that you mentioned, a lot of them are under the radar. People don't care about, whether it's guys who had some success earlier in their career, and people give up on them, Gleyber Torres, Javi Baez, whoever it is. They have figured out a way to hit the ball, and also AJ Hinch has done a good job of platooning people. That was the whole reason why they made the playoffs last year. There was a lot of talk about they traded a lot of their players. Everyone thought they were sellers at the deadline, and they, for all intents and purposes, they were. And then they had this platoon system, and everything kind of clicked. So AJ Hinch, very good manager, and got the job done. The good news for this series, Rob, is we are avoiding, on paper right now, we are avoiding almost all their good pitchers. We do play Jack Flaherty in this game, is what we're projected to do.
Yep.
He's been good. But Casey Mize, Reese Olson, Tarek Skubal, all going to miss them. Some because of injuries, some because we just missed Tarek Skubal. So nice that we miss Skubal, just like we missed Skeens a lot early in the season for the Pirates. He's a guy that, you can just chalk up a win every time he's on the mound. He's incredible. That's what's good is we have favorable pitching matchups other than that Flaherty-Singer game. Even if it's anyone but Wade Miley starting that game against Gibson Long for the Tigers, Gibson Long's had a very rough season so far. We have a pretty good shot of winning that one too. I'm going to say 1-2 in the series, Rob. I think something will go wrong. This team is very, very good. It is on the road. I'm just saying there is a path that we win this series and go 2-1 too. But I'm going to say 1-2.
I think if Austin Hayes is back for the weekend series, I think it gives us a much better shot. I don't know if we win because of it. I'm going to pick us 1-2. Mainly because I think that Martinez, that first game, is going to be super important. Nick Martinez is going to have to do some big stuff against Kiter Montero. And then I think the Singer Flaherty one could kind of go either way. If Singer's on his game, he's not walking too many guys, I think he can keep us in that game. And then, like you said, Sawyer Gibson Long only has 3 innings pitched, but 7.36 ERA is not great whatsoever. He was not able really to get it done at all. We'll have to see if he can do that. I don't think Wade Miley, especially if he does not pitch well today, is going to be that guy on Sunday. I would be shocked. I don't even know that Sawyer Gibson Long will be the guy on Sunday. So you can kind of pencil in just about everybody else, but I think that Sunday game is going to be a question mark. I wouldn't even be surprised, truthfully, Joe, and maybe they even do this tonight. I'm going to throw out a quick thing here. Maybe they go Brent Suter first for 2 or 3 innings, and then they go to Wade Miley. Kind of get through the early portion of the game, and do that. This Reds team has plenty of lefties, and teams just don't hit lefties as well for the most part. So that's where I'm at with this one. Do you have any? And I guess I should say 1-2 for me. So I'm going 3-3 for the week, which I think would be fine considering how good the teams are that we are playing. If we find a way for 4-2, I think both you and I are going to be like, okay, now, Mr. Crawl, please, for the love of God, go get another hitter. I would really love that. Yeah. You got any final thoughts here, Joe? Any words of wisdom before we call it a day, excuse me.
Oh boy, Chase Burns up to AAA now.
Yep.
I know Nick Crawler recently said that he is not ready yet. I think he is ready, but I understand that he needs to say that just to make sure things go well at AAA. It's more of a PR thing. But I'm excited. I mean, maybe if the Wade Miley start doesn't go well, maybe he is the guy, and they're just trying to keep expectations down. He has pitched very, very well this season. Obviously, was a good college pitcher. We talked about him enough, but yeah, he's a guy that can very, very much help this team if we continue to have injury issues because it seems like, Wade Miley isn't the answer. Rhett Lauder is still injured, and I don't know what other options they would have unless they trade for someone. And I'd rather just bring Chase Burns up. If we're trading for something, I'd rather trade for a hitter than trade for a pitcher, and I'd rather just use Chase Burns than trade for a pitcher. So, yeah, I think it's gonna be exciting to see what he does at AAA, and maybe he's up here in the next couple weeks.
I would say if he comes up, I wonder who gets booted. It has to be Singer, I would assume. But what does that even look like, right? Do they
Oh, you
trade
mean when
Singer?
everyone's healthy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
and I will say this too: if Burns comes up and can be pretty solid, I'm not trying to like discount this year, Joe, because this was going to be my fun fact as well was for him, and then I have one for Ellie that I'll give you guys here in a second, but um, if he comes up and is good and Rhett Lauder gets healthy again, do the Reds have the best rotation in baseball? I mean, Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo, Chase Burns, and Rhett Lauder, especially if Lauder pitches the way that he did. I mean, at that point, Lodolo or Abbott are potentially your 4 and 5 starters. I know they wouldn't be, but I mean, like in terms of actual skill level. And I just don't see many teams outside of like the Dodgers that can go up against a 5-man rotation like that. I'm not trying to give Reds fans too much hope. I'm not trying to blow smoke up our asses or anything, but like, I know that we're struggling with hitters, but I will say if Burns continues this meteoric rise and he comes up here and is as electric as he looks like he is right now, you guys better watch out because I think that there's a very real possibility that when all healthy, these 5, you're gonna be in every single game. You score 3 runs with those starting pitchers. You have a decent back end of your bullpen. Oh my, you are looking at potentially the best Red starting pitching of all time.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And like, I wonder if the move would be to move Martinez to the bullpen. Like, yes, we're giving him starter money, but and he is pitching well now too after he settled in. But
Yeah.
there's just too many arms, and we talked about like, hey, if Chase Burns comes up and fills one of the needs, if he's the starter, then you move Martinez to the bullpen. You don't have to go get an extra bullpen arm at the deadline. That gets 2 birds stoned at once, and you're just like you're playing with house money then. So as much as we want to say, hey, Nick Martinez, you're starting well, like he has experience in the bullpen. He has experience even as a closer at times. Maybe that's something they explore.
It's very possible. I also want to give a shout out, Joe, to Ellie De La Cruz. He went down and obviously mourned the death of his sister. And divine intervention, you could call it. The rain delay. He's trying to play 162 games. The Reds were able to get him in on Saturday because of the rain delay. Apparently his flight got missed or something like that, or got delayed, so he was not going to be able to be back in time for the Friday game. The rain delay. He is still played in every single game for the Reds now this season, as they were able to get him in that game late. Which I think is pretty incredible. I don't know, man. That is wild to me. That you get. I was just looking at it this morning. I was like, wait, because of the rain delay, he's not going to miss one of the games now. It's pretty incredible, and I will say I respect the grind so much for that. It actually leveled him up for me mentally, where I'm like, okay, this kid wants it even more than I thought he did. For him to be able to go do that, mourn the death of his sister, spend some time with his family, and be able to still come back, have a productive weekend, and still try for 162 games. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if he was going to be back sooner than we thought. I didn't think he was going to play even, obviously in the Friday game. But I guess they were obviously trying to, is what you're saying. But they did a scoreboard stumper on the Wednesday game for the Brewers, and it was like right before Ellie was going to leave. And it was like, there are 4 shortstops in Reds history who have played at least 160 games in a season. I'm not going to put you on the spot unless you want to be put on the spot. But
I mean, Barry, Concepcion, and maybe, is it Zach?
nope,
Did I get the first 2 though?
you got the first 2.
Okay, give me one more chance here. Was it
Got
that
it.
weird season? I've seen a lot of random trivia where Alex Gonzalez in that one season was the guy. Was it the?
Nope.
Gosh, I'm trying to think.
So
One
yeah,
more. Oh, is
one
it
more. Yeah.
Orlando Cabrera?
No. It's
Ah,
before our time. It's
okay.
so obviously Ellie, Barry, Davey Concepcion, and
Yeah.
Leo Cardenas, who was in the '60s.
Oh,
So
yeah.
a
Okay, that makes
little bit
sense.
before our time, but no, it was. So I was like, when I saw that Scorpus Thumper, I'm like, I kind of expect him to kind of miss the whole weekend series, just to kind of be with his family, which would be totally understandable if he did.
Yeah.
And no, he's back and on pace to play 162 games. Played 160 last year, so we'll see how he does. And it's last Thursday gets a day off, or Thursday and Friday off, other than just having flights, and then this week has a Thursday off too. So maybe he can be more well rested for the these next couple weeks here.
MLB.com put out their power rankings. The Reds are 18th. They have apparently
Fair.
been at the 500 mark 15 different times this season. So,
For the definition of an average baseball team, for sure. Yeah.
yep, that is 100% true. A lot of players for them to go get, though, Joe. I started looking at that. We'll talk about that in a future episode once we get closer to the trade deadline or once the Reds actually start making moves. But that is going to wrap it up for us on this episode of Reds Rundown. So, from our house to yours, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.